The mate bond struck like lightning, pure, undeniable, overwhelming. Nana's knees buckled as the sacred connection ignited between her and Frederick Storsveen, Alpha King of Frostholm. Around them, quick pause, comment where you're watching from, and if you're enjoying this story, please like and subscribe. I've got a lot more coming. The Grand Winter Assembly fell silent, hundreds of wolves sensing the moon goddess's decree. Frederick's ice-white hair caught the blue flames as he turned toward her, his frozen lake eyes wide with shock. For one heartbeat, Nana let herself hope. Her fated mate. The king himself. Perhaps the moon goddess truly had a plan for the forgotten Omega from the borderlands. Then Frederick's gaze swept over her threadbare dress, her bare feet, her trembling form. His expression shifted from shock to something cold, calculating. His jaw clenched as nobles whispered, as his court watched, as the weight of their judgment pressed down like winter itself. "No," Frederick said, his voice carrying across the hall like a death sentence. "This cannot be." The words shattered something fundamental in Nana's chest. The bond, newly formed, sacred, precious, cracked like ice beneath a hammer. Her wolf howled in agony as Frederick deliberately severed what the moon goddess had woven. "You are dismissed," he continued, turning his back on her. "On destiny. On everything." Nana fled through gasping nobles and cruel whispers, through corridors that blurred with tears, through massive doors into the frozen wilderness beyond. The broken bond bled inside her chest, making each breath agony, making her wolf whimper and fracture. Her ability to heal shattered along with the connection, leaving her vulnerable in ways no Omega should be. The snow welcomed her like an old friend. Cold, unforgiving, final. She collapsed in a drift, blood from unseen wounds staining the white landscape red. Her wolf couldn't heal, couldn't shift, couldn't do anything except hurt as the severed bond poisoned her from within. Let it end, she thought, closing her mismatched eyes, one amber, one silver blue, now hidden in shame forever. Let the cold take what Frederick didn't want. But the cold wasn't what found her. Strong arms lifted her from the snow. A voice, warm as summer sun, spoke words she couldn't quite hear through the pain. Golden brown eyes, kind and concerned, gazed down at her with something she'd never seen directed at her before. Compassion. "I've got you," the stranger murmured, and his warmth began to thaw her frozen despair. "You're safe now." Erickson of Silver Pine carried the broken Omega across the border between kingdoms, not knowing he held his future in his arms. Nana woke to warmth, golden firelight, soft furs, the scent of pine and healing herbs. So different from Frostholm's perpetual cold. Her body ached with the phantom pain of the severed bond, but someone had bandaged her wounds, cleaned the blood, wrapped her in safety. "Easy," that summer-warm voice said. Erickson appeared beside her bed, golden hair falling around a face that radiated kindness. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. Your wolf, the bond damage is severe." Shame flooded through her. Even strangers could see how thoroughly Frederick had broken her. "I should go," she whispered. "You should heal." Erickson sat carefully, keeping distance between them, respecting her space. "I'm Erickson, Alpha King of Silverpine. You're in my kingdom now, and you're under my protection. No one will hurt you here." "Why?" The question escaped before she could stop it. "Why help me?" His amber gold eyes held hers steadily. "Because you were dying in the snow, and I'm not the kind of man who walks past suffering." He paused. "What's your name?" "Nana. Nana Berglund." Saying it felt like reclaiming something stolen. Over the following weeks, Erickson proved his words true. He brought her meals himself, never demanding, always patient. He explained that the bond severance had damaged her wolf's healing ability, a wound that might never fully mend but could improve with time and care. "I can't shift anymore," Nana admitted one evening, voice breaking. "My wolf is broken." "Not broken," Erickson corrected gently. "Wounded. There's a difference. Wounds can heal. He didn't push, didn't demand her story. But slowly Nana found herself talking about the borderlands, about poverty and invisibility, about the moment the bond ignited and the moment Frederick destroyed it. Erickson listened with a fury that never touched her, only burned for her. "He's a fool," he said quietly. "Whatever his reasons, rejecting a fated mate is." He shook his head. "Unforgivable." "He was embarrassed by me," Nana said, the words tasting like ash. "Then he's blind as well as foolish." Erickson's gaze held nothing but sincerity. "I see strength in you, Nana. You survived what would have killed most wolves. You crossed a frozen wilderness rather than beg for scraps from someone who didn't see your worth. That's not a weakness. That's fierce." Something small and fragile stirred in Nana's chest. Not hope, not yet. But possibility. One morning she found Erickson in the training courtyard, working through sword forms with fluid grace. He noticed her watching and smiled. "Want to learn?" "I'm an Omega," she said automatically. "We don't." "You're a woman who deserves to defend herself," he interrupted. "So you never feel helpless again. If you want." Nana took the sword and took her first step toward becoming someone new. Training hurt in ways Nana hadn't expected. Not just physically, though her muscles screamed and her still healing wolf struggled, but emotionally. Every time she succeeded at a new move, every time Erickson praised her progress, the voice in her head whispered that she was a fraud, that she didn't deserve this attention, that Frederick had been right to reject her. "You're thinking too much," Erickson said one afternoon, circling her in the courtyard. "Stop apologizing for taking up space. You belong here." "I'm just an Omega from Stop." His voice was firm but not harsh. "That's not humility, Nana. That's the voice of people who needed you to be small so they could feel big. Stop letting them live in your head." The words hit like a blade to the heart. True and painful and necessary. Over months, Nana transformed. Her body grew stronger, leaner, more capable. She learned to fight, to stand her ground, to meet the eyes of nobles who visited Silver Pine without flinching. Erickson introduced her as Lady Berglund, his honored guest, and dared anyone to question it. But more than physical transformation, something shifted inside her. The constant apologies faded. The instinct to make herself invisible weakened. She started expressing opinions, asking questions, taking up the space Erickson insisted she deserved. And she noticed Erickson noticing her. Not with the cold assessment Frederick had given, but with genuine admiration. The way his eyes tracked her movements and training. The way he smiled when she corrected a pompous visiting noble. The way he unconsciously stepped closer when other wolves looked at her too long. She noticed because she was doing the same thing. Watching him lead his people with compassion and strength. Seeing how his warriors respected rather than feared him. Noticing the warmth in his laugh, the gentleness in his hands when he adjusted her grip on a sword, the patience in every word. "You're staring," Erickson said one evening, catching her watching him read by the fire. "So are you," Nana replied, surprising herself with the boldness. He smiled, slow and genuine. "Guilty." The moment stretched between them, warm and full of unspoken possibilities. But Erickson didn't push. He simply returned to his book, letting Nana choose her own pace, her own path. Then the letter arrived, cream parchment sealed with Frostholm's crest. An invitation to a royal ball where Frederick would present his chosen Luna to all the northern kingdoms. Nana stared at the elegant script, and something sharp and fierce rose in her chest. "I want to go." Erickson studied her carefully. "Are you certain?" "I need to face him," she said. "Not for closure. Not for forgiveness. But to show him, to show myself, that he doesn't define me anymore." Erickson's hand covered hers, warm and steady. "Then we'll go together. And if he so much as looks at you wrong, diplomatic immunity be damned, I'll remind him what happens to kings who discard precious things." Nana smiled, fierce and free. "I can remind him myself now." I know, Erickson said, pride evident in his voice. That's what makes you magnificent. And in that moment, Nana realized she might be falling in love. Not with destiny or fate, but with choice. Frostholm Castle rose against the night sky like a crown of ice and cruelty, every spire a reminder of Nana's greatest humiliation. Her hands trembled slightly as Erickson helped her from the carriage, and she was grateful for the emerald silk Erickson had commissioned, armor disguised as elegance. We can still leave, he murmured, thumb stroking gentle circles on her palm. You owe him nothing. I'm not doing this for him, Nana replied, lifting her chin. I'm doing this for me. The great hall blazed with the same ice-blue flame she remembered. But this time, when the herald announced King Erickson of Silverpine and Lady Nana Berglund, she didn't shrink. She walked through those massive doors with her head high, her wolf, still healing but no longer broken, prowling with cautious pride beneath her skin. The silence that fell was absolute. Hundreds of faces turned toward her, recognition rippling through the crowd like shockwaves. Yes. Whispers. The rejected Omega had returned. But she was unrecognizable. The threadbare dress was replaced by silk. The hunched shoulders are now straight and strong. The hidden eyes now meet the crowd directly, one amber and one silver blue, no longer sources of shame but symbols of her unique strength. Then she saw him. Frederick stood beside his throne in midnight blue velvet and silver crown, and beside him, a stunning blonde in ice blue silk who must be his chosen Luna. But Frederick wasn't looking at his chosen mate. He stared at Nana with an expression of such raw shock and longing that her wolf stirred uncomfortably. Through the phantom echo of their severed bond, she felt his wolf howling, felt his desperate recognition, felt the weight of his regret crashing against shields she'd built with Erickson's help. Too late, she thought coldly. Far, far too late. Frederick descended from his throne, the crowd parting before him. Each step toward her was measured, predatory, desperate. His frozen lake eyes never left her face as he approached, ignoring his chosen Luna entirely, ignoring protocol and propriety and everything except the woman he'd thrown away. Nana, he breathed, and her name on his lips sounded like prayer and apology and possession all at once. Your Majesty, she corrected, voice cool as the winter wind. I believe a proper address is expected in your court. The formality struck him like a physical blow. Around them, nobles gasped at her boldness, and Omega addressing the Alpha King with such clear disdain. Dance with me, Frederick said, and it wasn't quite a question or command but a desperate plea. Nana felt Erickson tense beside her, and felt his protective instincts rise. But she also felt his restraint, waiting for her choice, respecting her agency even now. No, Nana said simply, and the word echoed through the hall like thunder. Frederick's control shattered. You don't understand. I was wrong. So wrong. My wolf, he rejects everyone but you. Howls for you every night. I can't sleep, can't think, can't. That sounds like a problem, Nana interrupted quietly, and several nobles gasped at her audacity. You rejected me, Frederick. Publicly. Brutally. Because my dress wasn't fine enough and my status embarrassed you. You severed a sacred bond because you valued appearances over truth. I'll fix it, he said desperately. The blood ritual can restore. No. Nana stepped closer to Erickson, a deliberate choice that made Frederick flinch. You don't get to decide when this matters. You had the moon goddess's gift, and you threw it in the snow and left it to die. That's on you. And then she walked past him, past the Alpha King who destroyed her, past the chosen Luna he'd replaced her with, past the court that had witnessed both her devastation and her return, to dance with the man who'd chosen her freely. Frederick's broken whisper followed her onto the floor. What have I done? But Nana didn't look back. Erickson pulled Nana close as they swept into the waltz, and she felt safe despite the hundreds of eyes watching, despite Frederick's desperate gaze burning into her back. This was what she'd fought for, not revenge but the freedom to choose her own path. You were incredible, Erickson murmured, pride evident in his warm voice. The way you stood up to him. I learned from the best, Nana replied, allowing herself a small smile. But the peace lasted only moments before Frederick cut through the dancing couples like winter incarnate. His control had shattered, his wolf too close to the surface, his eyes flashing between human blue and pure white. Enough. The command stopped the music, stopped the dancing, stopped everything. This ends now. Storsveen, Erickson warned, his own wolf rising to meet the challenge. You're making a scene. She's my mate. Frederick's voice carried the weight of his wolf's rage. The moon goddess chose. The moon goddess gave you a gift, Nana interrupted, stepping between the two kings with more courage than she'd known she possessed. And you spat on it. You don't get to invoke sacred bonds now, Frederick. You served ours. You chose pride over destiny. That was your right. But now I'm exercising mine. She turned fully to face him, letting him see the woman she'd become, strong, confident, whole despite what he'd done to her. You want to know the truth? Her voice carried across the silent hall. My wolf should be broken. The bond severance should have killed me. I bled in the snow for hours, waiting to die because living with that agony felt impossible. She paused, letting him feel the weight of his choice. But someone found me. Someone carried me to safety. Someone helped me heal, not by forcing a bond or demanding gratitude, but by respecting my choices and seeing my worth when I couldn't see it myself. Frederick's face went absolutely white. I didn't know. You didn't care to know, Erickson said coldly. You were too busy protecting your image to consider the consequences. And now, Nana continued, her voice strong and clear. Now you regret it. Now you want the bond restored. Now you've realized what you lost. She shook her head slowly. But I've realized something too, Frederick. I've learned that the strongest bonds aren't written in the stars. They're built through choice, respect, and genuine care. She moved to Erickson's side, taking his hand deliberately, publicly. The gesture was unmistakable. Around them, the court exploded into shocked whispers. Frederick made a sound like a wounded animal. You're choosing him? A rival king over your fated mate. I'm choosing myself, Nana corrected. I'm choosing the man who saw my worth. I'm choosing freely given love over cosmic obligation. I'm choosing respect over regret. For a heartbeat, violence hung in the balance. Two alpha kings, ancient laws, territorial challenge, all the ingredients for bloodshed. But then Frederick did something unexpected. He fell to his knees before them, before his entire court, pride finally shattered. Please, he whispered, and the word held every ounce of his anguish. Please don't choose him. Give me another chance. I'll spend eternity making this right. Oh. No amount of time will change the fundamental truth, Nana said, not cruelly but with absolute finality. You didn't value me until you lost me. That's not love, Frederick. That's possession. And I won't be anyone's possession ever again. She turned to leave, to walk away from her fated mate for the final time, to choose her own destiny. But Frederick's voice stopped her, broken, raw, and finally honest. I understand now, he said quietly. What I destroyed. What I threw away. What I'll regret for the rest of my life. He looked up at her, his frozen lake eyes swimming with unshed tears. You deserve better than me. You always did. I'm sorry, Nana. Truly sorry. It was the first real apology he'd offered. The first moment of genuine understanding. But it had come too late. I forgive you, Nana said softly, surprising herself with the truth of it. Not for you. For me. So I can be free of this completely. Then she walked away, Erickson beside her, her head high, her heart whole, leaving Frederick kneeling in his ice palace, finally understanding that you cannot possess what you do not honor. The night air was a bit cold after the heated confrontation, but Nana welcomed it. Erickson's carriage waited, but she paused, needing a moment to process what had just happened. She'd faced Frederick, stood her ground, chosen herself. "You're shaking," Erickson said gently, wrapping his fur-lined cloak around her shoulders. "I'm free," she replied and realized it was true. The phantom ache of the severed bond had faded to nothing. Whatever connection had remained, choosing Erickson had severed it completely. "For the first time, I'm completely free." Erickson's smile was warm enough to melt ice. "You were incredible in there. The way you—" Erickson of Silverpine. The roar echoed across the courtyard, cutting through the cold night. Frederick emerged from the castle, his advisors trying to hold him back, his wolf fully at the surface now. "I challenge you. By the old laws, by blood and claw, I challenge you for the right to claim her." Nana's heart stopped. The old laws, ancient, binding, absolute. When two alpha kings contested over a mate, tradition demanded a duel. To the death or submission. No exceptions. "No," she breathed, turning to Erickson. "You don't have to accept. I've already chosen." "The old laws are clear," Frederick snarled, stalking toward them with predatory grace. "She was mine by the moon goddess's decree. You interfered. You took what was mine to protect, mine to cherish, mine to— yours to reject?" Erickson's voice was dangerously quiet. "Yours to destroy? Yours to leave bleeding in the snow?" He stepped forward, placing himself between Nana and Frederick. "She's not property, Storsveen. Not yours. Not mine. But if you want to settle this the old way, then so be it." "Erickson, please," Nana tried again, but he turned to her with gentle finality. "This isn't about you," he said softly. "Not really. This is about two very different ideas of what strength means. What honor means. What love means." He cupped her face briefly. "Let me do this. Not to win you, you've already chosen. But to prove that chosen love deserves protection too." Around them, nobles poured from the castle, forming a circle. The old laws demanded witnesses. I demanded blood. Demanded resolution. Frederick's advisors pleaded with him, "Your Majesty, you're not thinking clearly, your wolf is too close, this is madness." But he ignored them all. His entire being focused on Erickson with single-minded fury. "Dawn," Frederick decreed. "In the old circle by the ancient ways. To submission or death." "Agreed," Erickson replied calmly, though Nana could see the wolf prowling beneath his skin. The night that followed was the longest of Nana's life. She sat in Erickson's chambers while he meditated, prepared, and accepted what was coming. She wanted to argue, to protest, to find some way to stop this. But the old laws were absolute. Once a challenge was issued and accepted, only the duel could resolve it. "I could end this," she said quietly. "If I went to Frederick, agreed to try again, he'd withdraw the challenge." Erickson opened his eyes, meeting her gaze steadily. "Is that what you want?" "No," she admitted. "But I don't want you to hurt because of me." "Then let me fight for what I believe in," he said. "Let me fight for your right to choose. For the principle that freely given love matters as much as fated bonds. For the truth that worth isn't determined by appearance or status." He reached for her hand. "Let me fight for you, Nana. Not because you need saving, you don't. But because you deserve someone willing to stand up for your choices." Tears stung her eyes. "What if he kills you? Then I die knowing I defended something that mattered." He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "But I don't plan on dying. I plan on winning. And then I plan on spending however long you'll let me prove that choosing me was the right decision." "I love you," Nana whispered, the words escaping before she could stop them. "Not because of any bond. Not because you saved me. But because you saw me. Really saw me. And helped me see myself." Erickson's smile was brilliant despite the coming violence. "I love you too. Which is why I'm going to win." Dawn came too quickly, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that mocked the darkness of what was about to happen. Nana stood in the ancient circle, a clearing in the forest where generations of challenges had been settled, surrounded by wolves from both kingdoms. Frederick arrived in his wolf form, massive, white as snow, eyes glowing ice blue with supernatural power. He was magnificent and terrible, every inch the Alpha King of the North. Erikson shifted smoothly, and his wolf was different. Smaller, leaner, golden brown with intelligent amber eyes. Not as physically imposing, but with a grace and intelligence that promised different kinds of strength. The challenge began at first light, and Nana watched the man she loved fight for her right to choose him freely. The first clash of teeth and claws echoed through the frozen forest like thunder. Frederick struck with the fury of a winter storm, powerful, relentless, overwhelming. His massive white wolf dwarfed Erikson's golden brown form, his jaws snapping for Erikson's throat with lethal precision. But Erikson was faster. He twisted away, using Frederick's momentum against him, teeth finding purchase in the white wolf's shoulder before dancing out of reach. Blood stained pristine snow, and both kingdoms' wolves growled in response. Nana's heart hammered as she watched, forced by tradition to remain still, to witness, to let this play out. Her wolf howled inside her, torn between the echo of the mate bond and her genuine love for Erikson. Frederick recovered quickly, using his superior size to drive Erikson back toward the trees. Power radiated from the white wolf, alpha strength magnified by fury and desperation. When his jaws closed on Erikson's flank, Nana had to bite back a scream. But Erikson didn't panic. Didn't let pain overwhelm strategy. He used the close quarters to his advantage, twisting in Frederick's grip to rake claws across the white wolf's face, forcing him to release. The fight raged for what felt like hours but was probably minutes. Both wolves bled now, Frederick's white fur stained with crimson, Erikson's golden coat darkening with wounds. They were matched not in strength but in determination. Frederick fought with the desperation of a man who'd lost everything. Erikson fought with the conviction of a man defending what he loved. Then Frederick made his move, a feint followed by a powerful lunge that drove Erikson to the ground. The white wolf's jaws locked around his throat, position perfect for the killing bite. Victory was seconds away. Nana's world stopped. This was how it ended. Frederick would kill Erikson, would claim her by the old laws, and she'd be trapped forever with the man who'd destroyed her, even as she mourned the man who'd rebuilt her. But Erikson didn't submit. Didn't acknowledge defeat. Instead, he did something unexpected. He went completely still. Not in surrender, but in absolute calm. Through the mind link that all wolves could hear during challenges, his voice rang out clear and strong. "You've won the fight, Storsveen. You're stronger, bigger, more powerful. But this was never about strength, was it? This was worth it. About whether Nana's choice matters. About whether freely given love can be as sacred as fated bonds." Erikson's amber eyes held Frederick's ice blue without flinching, even with jaws at his throat. "Kill me if you want. Claim her by the old laws. But ask yourself, what will you have won? A woman who will never love you? A mate claimed by violence and tradition rather than chosen freely? A reminder every day of what you're not?" The words cut deeper than claws. Frederick's jaws remained locked, but something shifted in his glowing eyes. Uncertainty. Recognition. The beginning of understanding. "She chose me because I respected her," Erikson continued, his voice carrying to every witness. "Because I saw her worth when you couldn't. Because I offered partnership instead of possession. Kill me and you prove you've learned nothing. That pride still matters more than love. That you still can't see her as anything but property to be won or lost." The forest held its breath. Every wolf watched. Nana stood frozen, tears streaming down her face as the man she loved faced death with more courage than most showed in life. Slowly, so slowly it seemed to take forever, Frederick's jaws opened. He stepped back, releasing Erikson's throat, leaving the killing blow undelivered. Through the pack mind link, Frederick's voice came rough with emotion. "You're right. This was never about strength." He shifted back to human form, standing naked and bloody in the snow, all pretense of kingly dignity stripped away. I've been trying to win something that was never mine to win. Trying to claim something I destroyed with my own pride. Erickson shifted as well, rising to his feet despite his wounds. So what now? Frederick looked at Nana, really looked at her, seeing her fully for perhaps the first time. Seeing the woman who'd survived his rejection, who'd rebuilt herself, who'd found love despite him. Seeing her choice written clearly in her expression, in the way she stood poised to run to Erickson, in the absence of any longing for what might have been. Now I let go, Frederick said quietly. I formally release all claims to Nana Berglund. No bond, no challenge, no connection. She's free to choose her own path. He paused, meeting Erickson's eyes with something like respect. You won, Silverpine. Not because you were stronger, but because you were worthy of her in ways I never was. The old laws were satisfied. The challenge was resolved. Not through death but through acceptance. And Nana finally ran to Erickson, throwing her arms around him despite the blood and wounds, holding him close while healers rushed forward with supplies. You magnificent idiot, she whispered against his chest. You could have died. But I didn't, he replied, holding her just as tightly. And now no one can question your choice. Not tradition, not fate, not ancient laws. You're free, Nana. Completely free. Frederick watched them for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he turned and walked back toward Frostholm, leaving crimson footprints in the snow. A broken king who'd finally learned that some things once lost can never be reclaimed. The healing chambers in Silverpine's castle smelled of medicinal herbs and healing magic. Nana refused to leave Erickson's side as the pack doctors worked, stitching wounds and treating the damage from Frederick's savage attack. He'd live, the injuries looked worse than they were, but recovery would take time. You should rest, Erickson said for the 10th time, his voice rough with exhaustion. You've been here for 2 days straight. So have you, Nana replied, adjusting the cool cloth on his forehead. I'm not leaving. His hand found hers, warm despite his weakness. Stubborn woman. You love it. I love you. He said it simply, openly, with none of the desperation Frederick had shown. Just honest truth. Bond or no bond, fate or choice, I love you, Nana. And I'll keep loving you whether you choose me or not. The words broke something open in her chest. After everything, the duel, the challenge, nearly dying, you'd still accept it if I chose to walk away? Your freedom is more important than my desires, Erickson said, his amber eyes holding hers steadily. That's what love means. Not possession. Not an obligation. But wanting the person you love to be happy, even if that happiness doesn't include you. Tears burned Nana's eyes. This was the difference. Frederick had fought to possess her, to reclaim what pride demanded he shouldn't have lost. But Erickson had fought for her right to choose freely, even knowing she might choose something else. I choose you, she whispered. Not because you saved me. Not because you're kind or patient or help me transform. But because you see me as an equal. Because you offer partnership instead of dominion. Because loving you feels like choosing myself. Then I'm the luckiest man alive, Erickson said, pulling her down for a gentle kiss that tasted like healing and hope and home. A soft knock interrupted them. Nana tensed, half expecting Frederick's advisors or some new complication. Instead, a messenger entered with a sealed letter bearing Frostholm's crest. From King Frederick, the messenger said quietly. For Lady Berglund. Nana took it with trembling hands, Erickson's presence steady beside her as she broke the seal and read. Lady Berglund, I write not to ask for anything, but to acknowledge what I've taken. To name the harm I've caused. To accept responsibility for my actions without demanding forgiveness or understanding. You were right. I saw appearance instead of worth. Choose pride over sacred bonds. Destroyed the moon goddess's gift because I cared more about perception than truth. These are facts I must live with. I've dissolved the engagement to my chosen Luna. It was unfair to her, using her to replace something irreplaceable. She deserved better, as did you. My wolf no longer howls for you. Since releasing the bond fully, he's found peace. Not happiness, that may never come, but acceptance. We were wrong. We hurt someone precious. And we must live with that consequence. I hope Silverpine treats you with the honor you deserve. I hope you find happiness with Erickson. I hope someday you can think of me without pain. But whether you do or not, I want you to know, you were never the problem, Nana. I was. My weakness. My pride. My blindness. And I am sorry. Frederick Storsveen. The letter shook in Nana's hands. Not a plea for reconciliation. Not manipulation. Just accountability. The rarest gift Frederick could have given. He's letting go, she said quietly. Really letting go. Erickson read over her shoulder, his expression thoughtful. Good. You should. You deserve to move forward without his shadow following. And just like that, the weight Nana had been carrying since the Grand Winter Assembly lifted. Not completely, trauma didn't heal that easily. But significantly. Frederick's acceptance of responsibility, his release of all claims, his acknowledgement of his failures. It mattered. I forgive him, Nana said, surprising herself. Not because he deserves it, but because I deserve peace. You deserve everything, Erickson corrected gently. Peace, love, joy, partnership. Everything. Over the following weeks, as Erickson healed and the story of the duel spread across the northern kingdoms, Nana made her choice official. She formally accepted Silverpine's citizenship, formally became Erickson's partner in leadership, formally chose the path she wanted rather than the destiny others had tried to force upon her. The night before their bonding ceremony, not ordained by the moon goddess but chosen freely by both participants, Nana stood at her window watching stars wheel overhead. Nervous. Erickson appeared beside her, his wounds nearly healed now. Happy, she corrected. For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I want to be. With someone who sees me, values me, loves me. Not because fate demands it, but because we choose each other every day. Every day, Erickson agreed, taking her hand. I choose you every day, Nana Berglund. Today, tomorrow, and every day after. And I choose you, she replied, her heart full to bursting. Today and always. Under the stars, two wolves who'd found each other through cruelty's aftermath stood together, proof that the strongest bonds aren't written in destiny but forged through choice, respect, and unwavering love. 6 months had passed since the duel. 6 months since Nana had chosen Erickson freely, since Frederick had released his claim, since the old laws had been satisfied through understanding rather than death. And now, under a full moon that witnessed but did not command, Nana prepared for the bonding ceremony that would join her life to Erickson's. Not a fated bond ordained by the moon goddess. A chosen bond built through respect, trust, and genuine love. Somehow more sacred for being freely given. You look radiant, Erickson's beta said, adjusting the silver circlet in Nana's hair. She wore deep forest green, her favorite color now, a far cry from the threadbare dress she'd worn to her first disaster in Frostholm. This gown was elegant but comfortable, beautiful but practical. Like her life now. Like herself. Through the window, she could see wolves gathering from across the northern kingdoms. Silverpine's pack, obviously, but also neighboring territories. Even some from the borderlands, her old pack, who'd barely acknowledged her existence before but now came to celebrate the Omega who'd become a Luna through her own strength. A knock drew her attention. To her surprise, a messenger in Frostholm's colors stood in the doorway, holding a wrapped package. From King Frederick, the messenger said quietly. With his blessing. Nana's hands trembled slightly as she unwrapped it. Inside lay a crown of silver and moonstone, delicate and beautiful, clearly crafted by Frostholm's master smiths. A note accompanied it. For Luna, you were always meant to be. May your chosen bond bring the joy that fated bonds failed to provide. You deserve better than me. I'm glad you found it. Not possessive. Not demanding. Just acknowledgement. Growth. The final release of what never should have been held. He's learned, Nana murmured, setting the crown aside. She'd wear the circlet Erickson had commissioned instead, simpler, more her style. But she appreciated Frederick's gesture nonetheless. The bonding ceremony took place in Silver Pine's sacred grove, under ancient pines that had witnessed countless bonds over generations. Unlike the fated bond's sudden lightning strike recognition, this ritual was deliberate, conscious, built through words and choices and promises. Erickson stood at the center of the grove in bronze and gold, his golden hair catching moonlight, his amber eyes fixed on Nana as she walked toward him. Not given away by any father or alpha. Walking of her own will, her own choice, her own free path. Who comes before the moon goddess? The pack shaman intoned, following the traditional words even as they created something new. I do, Nana said clearly. Nana Berglund. Omega of the borderlands. Survivor of rejection. The warrior trained. Woman whole. I come freely of my own choice to bond with the man I love. Around them wolves murmured in approval. This wasn't how bonding ceremonies typically went. Usually the moon goddess's recognition was mentioned, the fated bond acknowledged. But Nana and Erickson were writing new traditions, showing that chosen bonds could be just as sacred. And who receives her? The shaman continued. I do, Erickson replied, his voice carrying strength and gentleness in equal measure. Erickson, Alpha King of Silverpine. I receive her not as property but as a partner. Not as possession but as equal. I choose her freely today and every day for as long as she'll have me. The ritual continued with traditional words and new ones they'd written themselves. They spoke of choice over destiny, of partnership over dominion, of love built through conscious decision rather than cosmic decree. They exchanged marks, not the mate bond's automatic recognition, but deliberate bites given and accepted, creating a connection forged by will. When their wolves emerged, Erickson's golden brown and Nana's darker, smaller, but no longer broken, they circled each other with joy rather than compulsion. The bond that formed between them was different from fated connections. Warmer, gentler, but no less real. No less powerful. No less sacred. By the old laws and new traditions, the shaman proclaimed, I recognize Erickson and Nana as bonded mates. May their choice bring strength, their love bring joy, and their partnership bring wisdom to us all. The gathered wolves howled in celebration, a sound that carried across forests and kingdoms, reaching even Frostholm where a white wolf stood alone on frozen battlements, listening to the joy he'd once rejected and finally, truly accepting his loss. The celebration lasted long into the night. Dancing, feasting, storytelling. Nana found herself surrounded by wolves who'd once dismissed her. Pack members from the borderlands, nobles from other territories, even some from Frostholm who'd witnessed her transformation and come to pay respects. But the moment she treasured most came later, when she and Erickson stood alone under the stars, the party continuing in the distance but giving them space. Do you regret it? Erickson asked quietly. The fated bond? What might have been if Frederick had made different choices? Nana considered the question honestly. Did she regret losing something ordained by the moon goddess herself? Did she wonder about alternate timelines where Frederick had seen her worth, where the bond had been honored, where destiny had unfolded as planned? No, she said finally and meant it completely. I don't regret losing something I never truly had. Frederick rejected me before I could know what the bond might have been. And honestly, she turned to face Erickson fully, taking both his hands. I'm glad. Because this, us, what we've built, together, it's so much stronger than anything destiny could have forced. We chose each other. We keep choosing each other. And that means everything. I choose you, Erickson murmured, pulling her close. Today and always. Every day, Nana replied, standing on her toes to kiss him. I choose you every day. Silverpine thrived under Luna's influence. Nana had implemented reforms, protections for Omegas, training programs for those who wanted them, social services for struggling pack members. The kingdom that had welcomed her broken now benefited from her whole. She stood in the council chamber, arbitrating a territorial dispute with the same confidence she'd once fought to develop. Her advisors, a mix of Silverpine's old guard and new voices she'd encouraged, listened respectfully. The Omega who'd once made herself invisible now commanded rooms with genuine authority. Lady Luna, a messenger interrupted. A letter from Frostholm. From King Frederick himself. The council went silent. Relations between the kingdoms had normalized. Trade continued, diplomacy functioned, but personal communication remained rare. Nana took the letter with steady hands, no longer trembling at Frederick's name. Luna Nana. I hope this letter finds you well. I write with news that I thought you might appreciate hearing directly rather than through diplomatic channels. I've begun reforms in Frostholm, inspired by changes I've heard about in Silverpine. Protections for lower-ranked wolves. Training opportunities regardless of designation. A more merit-based approach to leadership. Slow going. Pride and tradition resist change. But I'm learning, finally, that strength includes compassion. That leadership means serving, not just commanding. That worth isn't determined by appearance or rank. I learned these lessons far too late for us. But perhaps not too late for others who might have suffered under the old ways. I've also met someone. Not a fated bond, I don't trust myself with those anymore. But a woman who challenges me, who calls out my weaknesses, who demands I be better. We're taking things slowly, consciously, choosing each other deliberately. I wanted you to know that your strength, your transformation, your choice to reject tradition and forge your own path, it changed more than just your life. It challenged me to change too. I still carry regret. Probably always will. But I'm trying to let that regret drive growth rather than obsession. I hope you're happy, Nana. I hope Silverpine treats you with the honor you deserve. I hope your chosen bond brings the joy that fated bonds couldn't. With respect and acknowledgement of past failures, Frederick. Nana read the letter twice, feeling complicated emotions. Not love. Never that. Not even forgiveness in its fullest sense. But closure. The recognition that Frederick was growing, learning, becoming someone who might actually deserve happiness someday. Good news? Erickson appeared at her elbow, reading over her shoulder. Frederick's changing, she said. Really changing. Not because he's trying to win me back, but because he's actually learning. Good, Erickson said simply. Everyone deserves the chance to grow. Even him. That evening, Nana stood on Silverpine's battlements, watching the sun set over the forest. Erickson joined her as he always did, his presence steady and warm. Do you ever think about what might have been? She asked. If Frederick had accepted the bond? If I'd never fled into the snow? If you'd never found me? Sometimes, Erickson admitted. But then I remember, we might never have found this. This partnership. This conscious choice. This love is built through respect and trust rather than cosmic obligation. He pulled her close. The moon goddess might have known what she was doing after all. Not by creating a bond between you and Frederick, but by breaking it so you could find something stronger. Nana leaned into his warmth, feeling their chosen bond hum between them. Not a lightning strike of recognition, but a steady flame of commitment. Not ordained by fate but built through choice. I choose you, she murmured. Every day, Erickson replied. I choose you every day. And under a sky full of stars, two wolves who'd found each other through cruelty's aftermath stood together, proof that the strongest bonds aren't written in destiny but forged through choice, compassion, and unwavering love. The rejected Omega had become a respected Luna. The rival king had become a beloved partner. And the Alpha who destroyed his fated bond had learned, too late for one relationship, but perhaps not too late to save himself. Sometimes the greatest destiny is the one you choose for yourself.
Like and subscribe if you enjoy watching this story. See you on the next one.